Good evening and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think World Cup is the name of a drinking game. Now, of course, the drinking game is King's Cup, and if you're listening to this show, then certainly you know what the World Cup is. And of course, right now, we have the Women's World Cup competition going on in France. If you listen to part 1 of this episode, we broke down the U.S. Open Cup. In part 2, we're going to talk about the Women's World Cup, specifically the game between Australia and Brazil, which Arran is going to gloat about a bit. And we're going to do a deep dive and talk about the controversy, non-controversy involving the U.S.'s 13-0 win over Thailand. So let's welcome Arran and Matt back on and talk some Women's World Cup. All right, well, we've got another cup competition to talk about, and I know Arran is chomping at the bit to talk about what happened this morning, so let's talk Women's World Cup.
Can we talk Women's World Cup, please? I watched the last Women's World Cup, wasn't impressed, we didn't do too well. We knocked out Brazil, however, so of course, when I say we, I'm talking about Australia.
Just for the record, I was impressed with the last Women's World Cup.
I wasn't impressed with Australia's turnout in the World Cup, but okay, yes, you're right, mate. The Women's World Cup is excellent, and I'm going to, before I get into Australia, I'm going to have to say just how good and how different it is from the Men's World Cup, okay? I'm not going to say there's lack of skill because these women have an extraordinary amount of skill. They've got awareness, they've got fitness, they're incredible. What you won't see, however, is perhaps, I don't want to downgrade the game by saying this, I want to say perhaps they don't have as much power. So what you won't see is Route 1 football, which we all freaking hate, right? Which is goalkeeper kicks to the midfield, the midfielder kicks it into the goal. That doesn't happen with this. And I think, for mine, at least anyway, this is a more beautiful, more pure game to watch because they play it through the midfield. And you see a lot of decisive midfield turnovers, a lot more action in the boxes. I think this is a much more exciting game to watch. It's all pretty formulaic in the Men's World Cup because you know how these guys are going to play. Australia plays very defensively in the Men's World Cup. Italy plays defensively. Brazil's going to be, they're going to play with their flair, and France will as well with their garlic flair. With the Women's World Cup, it's a lot more open. There's a lot more going on. You have to keep your eye on the game. I love this. I've watched 4 or 5 matches now, I think, and enjoyed every single one of them. It's engrossing. You can't keep your eye off the game for a moment.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch, man. I can't say really I've been surprised by any of the outcomes. You know, I think the teams that going into this I thought were going to do really well are doing extremely well. It was cool today to see Australia come back from being down on Brazil. You know, anytime a team's down 2-0 and comes back to win 3-0 or 3-2, I mean, that's just exciting, no matter men's, women's, high school, whatever. That's just awesome to see. So that was a great game, man.
Absolutely, man. No, it was.
You know, I think this is the deepest Women's World Cup we've seen in a while. You know, you're seeing just the game grow across the world for women's. You're looking at leagues popping up to the point now where I would say our women's league here has been surpassed by a number of countries, you know, as far as just the development, the money poured into it, the TV deals, things like that. And so it's been really fun to watch. And
can I go back? Can I just have a moment of glory here, please, for the Matildas, the Australian women's soccer team? They had a devastating loss against Italy, who they should have really won. Okay, so Australia is ranked 6th in the world in the women's competition. Italy is 15. They're in a very deep group, I have to say. So we're playing Italy and Brazil. Wouldn't quite call it the group of death, but it's a tough group. It was an extra time stoppage goal that sunk Australia, and that sunk me. And shout out to Cindy, by the way, who put it on when I came home from work. She's like, "Can we watch this?" I'm like, "Fuck you." Well, no, because she's got like Italian heritage, so she was just rubbing it in, okay? And today, I had to say, I was watching it at work. Sorry, work, but I was, and I between Australia and Brazil, there's a bunch of history there, okay? So in the previous World Cup, in 2015, Australia knocked Brazil out of the World Cup in the round of 16. Then Brazil returned the favour in the Olympic competition. And so there is a bunch of rivalry between those two games, and they left nothing on the field today. You know how we talk about the lower leagues of football, of soccer in the UK, and we talk about this quite often, and they leave nothing on the pitch. These two teams left nothing on the pitch. There was genuine animosity between these really strong teams, and it showed. But I do have to say, and I know I'm waxing lyrical once again, maybe digressing if I will, Australia showed true character, coming from 2-0 down to 3-2 up, admittedly in somewhat dubious circumstances. Somewhat, that shows true character. I just... Go Matildas. That's all I've got, lads. That's all I've got. I'm sorry.
No, they needed it. Like you said, they're not in the hardest group. They're not in the group of death, but I think the way Italy has kind of come on and they're playing well, and Brazil's playing well. You're not guaranteed to go through in a third place finish. So any win is a win, right? And so when you knock off a team like Brazil. So you got Jamaica, Italy playing tomorrow, I believe, when we're recording this, and so let's say Italy probably going to win that. That puts them at 6 points. Yeah. So really Australia, Jamaica's huge, so those points are vital, man. And it was a good match. It's fun, man. The Women's World Cup is just fun to watch. Yeah.
Full of passion. Some great goals. I mean, some absolutely cracking goals today.
Yeah, well, there was one big thing that we need to talk about is a controversy that has kind of come about.
No controversy. There's not.
I don't think it should be a controversy, but it certainly has played out that way in social media where, of course, the USA versus Thailand game that happened earlier, the USA won 13-0, and there's been a bit of an uproar on the internet about whether the U.S. team was running up the score or whether they were over celebrating the late goals. Now, my opinion is it's the highest level of competition in the world. Goal differential is a factor. If you've scored a goal at the World Cup, you're allowed to celebrate it. I don't have a problem with any of these things. I think that they weren't rubbing it in. They were just playing their game, scoring goals, and celebrating the way you would celebrate.
Look, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like you hit the nail on the head. You're scoring a goal in a World Cup. No one has any right to go to anybody, woman, man, I don't care who it is, and say, hey, you might have scored the 11th goal in the game, so you shouldn't celebrate it. No, man, this is the World Cup.
No.
I mean, this is it, right?
That's
like
bollocks.
Okay, the NBA finals were tonight. The game 7 or game 6, I think. I don't follow the NBA.
Yeah, game 6.
But, you have the Stanley Cup last night, right? Game 7. Yeah. What, you're going to tell someone to not to celebrate a goal if it's 6-1 in that game or whatever? Like, it's just ridiculous. And the bottom line is goal differential could matter a lot in this.
Yeah, if Sweden let's say this. Sweden is in the U.S. group. This is one of the U.S.'s rivals, and they're a strong team. So let's say the U.S. got up 6-0 on Thailand, and they decide to let up. Let's say that Sweden comes out, beats Thailand by 10. U.S. and Sweden play their match. That ends up in a draw. Now all of a sudden, Sweden is going to get that first place spot in the group because of goal differential. Right. If they don't, it was the first match that they were playing. They don't know how many goals the other teams are going to score. They weren't really in a position to be able to let up.
Well, and I'm sorry, but in soccer, that's not a thing, right? So
exactly. Thank you, Matt. We've spoken about this already on the show. You're right. That's not a thing.
And you're up, 90-50. You can take out all 5 guys and put on 5 third string dudes who never see time. In soccer, you get 3 subs. That's it. You get 3.
Right.
So it's not like you can just say, hey, okay, I'm going to take off my entire first string of players and put on all the backups because we're up 6-0. I mean, that's just not the way it works in soccer. And then on top of that, no one wants to talk about all the photos coming out of the United States women kind of consoling and supporting the Thailand team. So it's stupid, and this is why I don't engage in discussions on social media, because people can just say whatever they want and think that there's no consequences. So I think the whole thing's dumb. Congratulations to the U.S. women, 13-0. It was a fun, exciting game. They needed it, but guess what? That's probably the easiest game they're going to play in this World Cup, because if they do top the group, if they do win out the group and France wins out on their group, we're set up for a France-United States quarterfinal, and that's going to be a tough game for them.
I don't think this should be the quarterfinal, by the way, just quietly. Even though I am an Aussie fan, I think the French at home with that monstrous. Oh, I wish I could remember her name now.
Well, I honestly, if the United States meets France,
so is the next round the quarterfinal, or is there like a round of 16?
No, there's a round of 16, because the top 2 teams in each group make it through, and then the top 4 third place teams make it through. So there's a round of 16.
Lads, can I just go back and have a chat about Thailand here? Because I've just seen something that I didn't recognise before. So when we're talking about the FIFA World Cup, there are automatic qualifying places through to that. So, I mean, you could be as miserable as Thailand, who are ranked 34th in the world.
Which is not bad.
Which isn't bad, by the way. But they're the third-placed team in Asia. Well, if you exclude Australia and New Zealand. But, my point is, these guys happen to be there.
They're not in Asia.
Yeah, there's something funny happening over there. I don't want to go into that, but New Zealand's New Zealand. They do their thing. You go, guys. But here's the thing. These guys have gone into the World Cup. They probably didn't expect too much. They did meet the USA, who was number 1 in the world. The USA, that's their first match. They're going to go out. They're going to make a statement. They're going to say, hey, guys, we're here. Look out, France. Look out, Germany. Look out, England. Look out, Australia, if you will. We're coming after you guys, but you're right, Matt. I think the thing that the entire media over here missed was at the end of the game, they consoled these players. They were like, hey, it's a business. Sorry, lads. Sorry, girls. It's a business. We didn't really want to steamroll you, but we have to.
There was a great amount of respect between the two clubs, and I think that we saw with the Thailand team is a lot of the things that Chris Cortez talked about how respectful the opponents are from each other, and that was the thing is you have to give the. I think this is something that Kevin from the PRFC fan show mentioned on Twitter. Is just how respectful the Thailand team was, and even down that much, they didn't resort to dirty tactics. They weren't out fouling people. They were standing up, and I guarantee you, to a person, everyone on that field would not have wanted anybody to play less than 100%. And as far as the celebrations go, the thing that other people have to remember is whether it's the 11th, 12th, or 13th goal in the game or not, that might be the only goal that some of these people score ever in a World Cup in their entire life that they've worked their entire life to get to. And you're going to take that celebration away from them because it was the 12th goal of the game.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Alex Morgan is going to score more goals.
Right.
Yeah. In the World Cup, which is the pinnacle of their career. Right. And I honestly didn't think there was anything over the top of the celebrations. I kind of thought they were subdued. If I can be honest, and you can cut this out, Phil, there is a heavy dose of misogyny involved with that, and that sucks.
Well, I mean, in 1992, when the U.S. men's dream team basketball team was going over and steamrolling people by 50, it was celebrated. Nobody was saying, oh, no, they should not be beating the other teams that much.
Well,
It was.
I mean, yeah, but let's be fair. We're in a completely different day and age than we were in 1992 because we're in this day of like participation trophies. And again, we can talk about this or you can cut this, but it is what it is. We're in this age of participation trophies, and everyone has a fragile psyche, and getting beat, could crush them for their entire lives. The bottom line is that it makes you a stronger competitor. Right. So some of these girls going over there getting beat 13-0, those basketball teams, look at it as now. The US team doesn't go steamroll over international basketball teams like we used to, right?
Australia.
I mean, right? They get better.
They haven't lost a game since 2006, but sure.
Right. But they're not steamrolling those teams. I mean, look, here's the thing. 2015 Women's World Cup. We had a nation there called Ecuador. First game, 6-0, they lose to Cameroon. Second game, 10-1, they lose to Switzerland. Last game, they lose 1-0 to Japan. Japan had already clinched first round, by, I'm sure, they played a weaker team. But you're talking negative 16 goal difference. It happens in sports. I don't think
it does. You could be Cleveland Browns.
I don't
for
think
example,
it's a misogyny thing. I don't think it has anything to do with women. I honestly think it's because we live in this day and age where everyone is kind of coddled.
I tend to agree with what you're saying, Matt. Is like people think there should be participation trophies in the World Cup, and I mean we're talking about the 34th ranked international team in the world in the biggest competition in the world. There is no participation trophies or orange slices at that
and you're
level.
playing the first ranked team with women that have played for Lyon, which is the best women's club team in the world, women that have played for Chelsea FC's women's, for Manchester City FC women. I mean, you're talking just renowned players, and they're playing a team of, if you look at the Thailand squad, all but two of them play in the Thailand Women's League. The other two, colleges in the U.S. So it happens. It happens. But I don't get.
Here's the thing. You're right. It happens. But for the Thai league and for those women that were playing there, they played against the best in the world. That was a huge learning experience for those guys. They're going to take that back. They're going to progress their game. Hopefully expand the game over there in Thailand so that, they can learn a little bit more as a group. Yes, it was humiliating, but at the same time, they're on the biggest stage in the world, and I think that was great. Can I just say, though, I really can't be the one calling this out because Australia's kind of pretty bad at this shit, okay? So, men's World Cup qualifier, we're going back to the April 11, 2001 game versus Australia versus American Samoa. We won 31-0.
Oh!
And we broke the previous record for a qualifier, and that was against Tonga. And we beat them 21-0. So I got a dog in this race, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, when you get into the Oceania kind of, it's interesting because you get all those little islands, right? And they all want to compete. They all want to have fun. But you hit something that I want to touch on, and that's just that experience part of it. Yeah. When I played collegiate soccer, I helped launch a program here in Arizona. And in our first season, we were playing established schools in California that some of them were going on and playing, at the MLS level, right? These are our NAIA schools kind of sending some players on. But, in the first game, we got beat, I think it was like 16-0, where after the first 20 minutes, they're subbing out because there's no restriction at that level, subs, but they're subbing out their entire first team. And I'm playing against guys that, like a 24-year-old Englishman. And there was a dude from Africa who was like 6'4", and it's just kind of like, hey, it happens, but we learned so much from that going forward. We learned more about the game itself. And so you nailed it, man. These women that are playing over there in Thailand are going to go back and they're going to say to their teammates, hey, when I was playing the US, I noticed that Alex Morgan would do this when she got the ball, or I noticed that Megan Rapinoe would do this right before she made a cut. And they're going to start integrating that kind of stuff into their game. And it's something that this is a growing experience, right? You have to learn, and it hurts sometimes, but you have to learn. And so, you feel bad for them, but our players were over there kind of consoling them, thanking them, being very respectful. Yes. And at the same time,
yes.
Again, what did you want them to do? Just pass around the ball for 40 minutes? Like,
I mean, there's only so often you can say LA, isn't it?
It's like that. Yeah. It's like that proverbial Ivy League team that makes the March Madness just to get their ass kicked by Duke every year. I mean,
bam.
It's kind of almost, in my mind, it's more disrespectful just for them to, like you said, Aaron, just to pass the ball around for 45 minutes. That to me is almost, at least try. Like, I might be bad, but like, you could try. So
nobody wants to win a board game with their neighbor because their neighbor let them win,
Yeah,
I hate board games. I'm the one that tips the freaking board over.
all that to say, all those people on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, wherever they're saying it, that are saying that it was unsportsmanlike, just need to shut up, because they would have done the same thing had they been in those women's positions, because it's the World Cup. It's the World Cup.
And let's face it, they weren't, because those women are better than them. So, bam. Sit in your Twitter seat over there, knobheads. Keep that in, Phil.
Well, we've really enjoyed this tonight, and we appreciate you staying along with us for so long. This one, I'm going to guess it's going to turn into a 2-part episode, so we really enjoyed all the time that you spent with us, and we will be checking in on both the U.S. Open Cup and the Women's World Cup as both of these tournaments progress throughout the summer. Did you guys have anything else to add in?
No, I'm good, man. I thought we had some good conversation today.
Absolutely. I'm certainly looking forward to that US-France matchup in the Women's World Cup. And hopefully I'll meet Ryan Serrar on the other side of the final when Australia meets up with the US. So let's see how that goes, eh?
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for joining me tonight, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I had a good time, and thanks again to Rising Fan 1 for recommending the bracket to us.
And whoever you are.
And always for my brother from down under.
My mate from State 48 and Mr. Wizard over there.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one.
Laters.